So I did this with Red Dead Redemption 2, and I'd like it to become more of a recurring segment because trailer review just doesn't make it. You're not reviewing a trailer. You don't have to review a trailer. You don't have to buy it. It's like, I just think reviewing trailers is kind of dumb. But I do want to talk about it in some way when it comes out. I knew a Last of Us sequel was inevitable, and I knew they were planning on doing it, but I thought it would be more of a spin-off. I didn't realize it would be a direct follow-up. It's still starring Joel and Ellie, which I think is awesome. It's a very slick little trailer. Ellie's a lot older now. I like how she looks, but I'm not a big fan of the guitar song she's playing. That sounded kind of lame, and her voice is very scratchy, so if they're trying to do the Daisy Domergue thing from The Hateful Eight, didn't quite work. You know, I was watching Neil Druckmann, Troy Baker, and Ashley Johnson all sit down and talk about it at the actual PSX conference thing, and it sounds like they did that on purpose. Like, oh, the first time she sang it, it was too perfect, so she wanted to add more grit, wanted to add more, like, shittiness, so that it's Ellie singing the song. And I guess I can understand why they did that. I just think it made for a shittier song. But holy shit, that CGI is amazing. It is a very familiar tone. It does feel like Last of Us, which is good. I'm really not as excited as I feel like I should be. Like, it's more Last of Us. It's like one of the best games of all time is getting a direct sequel. It's a game that I thought was this kind of standalone thing in my favorite games list forever, and I'm getting a direct sequel, so like I'm trying to pump myself up because I'm like, this is gonna be good, right? The most important and essential thing, this is gonna be at the start of pretty much every one of these lists, is 1080p 60 FPS or 4K 30 FPS with PS4 Pro anyway. Alright, Sony, if you don't even give people the option between high frame rate, high resolution, or high fidelity, how can you expect anyone else to? This is gonna be your flagship brand now, apparently. Especially since The Last of Us Remaster runs in 60 FPS. Obviously, The Last of Us Part 2 is gonna have more powerful engine and better graphics, but not so much so that we lose frame rate, especially since we're getting more power because this is going to be built from the ground up for PS4 Pro, right? That's the biggest problem with PS4 Pro right now. I'm going to get one when Horizon Zero Dawn comes out, probably to review it and talk about the difference, but I haven't gotten one yet because apparently most games don't even look all that good. Some of them run worse, some of them don't give you the option to switch between high frame rate to high resolution, and that was the biggest deal for me because I don't care about 4K, I care about consistent 1080p 60 FPS, and I imagine most gamers do too. Something Neil Druckmann said in an interview is that you were going to be playing as Ellie for the most part and not Joel. You played as Ellie for one quick little mission, one little segment in the original Last of Us, The Last of Us Part 1, I guess we're going to call it now. So it's possible they'll switch off or something, but apparently the characters are switching roles. So the first Last of Us focused on Joel, and the second one's focusing on Ellie now. Something else Neil Druckmann said in the first Last of Us is like, this is focused on love. This is the relationship between Joel and Ellie. He's saying for the second one, they're kind of switching that up. They're focusing on hate. So look at the Ellie. I mean, in the trailer, Ellie's very clearly pissed off. She's got this very vengeful thing, or even hardcore badass Joel is being like, are you sure you want to go through with this? Like, calm down, Ellie, let's not destroy the whole world. But in a campaign-driven game like this, where you have two very strong, very prominent protagonists, how about online co-op? Can one of us play as Ellie and one of us play as Joel? If they say no, I'm not gonna cry a river or anything, but I think that'd be a nice addition. The third thing they said is they confirmed Gustavo Salmonella is returning to compose the second game. He did the music for the first one, and it was very good. So here's the theme you're going to start to see crop up in this video. It's like, I want good, I want quality, but I also want distinction. I want you to, it's like, you did good once. Now do it again, and don't just copy it the first time. That is one of the biggest problems in gaming these days, is the excessive rehashing of ideas. The Last of Us 2 has given me hope for that, because it seems like a big step. Ellie is clearly significantly older than she was in the first game, and hopefully Joel is too. We're going to need some kind of gameplay innovation. Last of Us was a mechanically sound game, it was a very fun game, and it controlled well. So do that again, but do one thing differently. Add something for the sequel, alright? You're gonna add new weapons, you're gonna add new equipment, obviously. Make at least one big step innovation-wise. I don't know what it does, I don't really have any ideas. I'm just saying, do something, alright? You gotta be careful this doesn't just feel like DLC for the first game. You wanna set this apart as a clear and present sequel as a different game. Take that concept from game mechanics and apply it to the art style. One of the most important things is that this game's gotta look pretty. I think the game's gonna look pretty from the trailer. But if you look at the trailer, what do we see? We see kind of more of what we saw on the first Last of Us. It's this very decrepit, kind of wooden-looking house and these green, pretty trees outside. It's like this overgrown society. It's like we've seen a lot of that in the first game. The first game as a standalone game had plenty of good diversity. There was snow, there was kind of orangey fallness as it went through the different seasons of the year. Obviously, you're going to see some more of the same because it's the Last of Us art style, but give us some distinct new color palette, give us a distinct new area. Also, I want a new story, alright? We have made made character progression. These characters are in different spots than they were at the beginning of the first Last of Us, so don't go back and make us do the same thing. Don't cripple them in some way and throw them back to where they were. Don't rehash the same plot points from the first game. And don't make it a linear quest for revenge where, like, this one guy wrongs Ellie at the beginning and now it's Ellie and Joel versus the world the whole game. That'll be very empty and very unfulfilling. Have a narrative that evolves. Throw in different characters, have several steps. Have the goal of the game change a couple times. Now, Joel and Ellie are some of the best acted, best written, and best, coolest looking, bestest characters of all time ever. So you have one rock solid foundation for the game, but you gotta make sure you add some good new side ones too. I think Bill will probably come back because he's one of the few people from the first game who didn't die. Ellie looks like she's gonna be one vengeful badass, and I'm okay with that, but don't throw out what made her Ellie. Don't do what the Telltale Walking Dead Season 2 did, where she's so drastically changed a character they forgot what made her so cool in the first place. In Season 2, Clem is just moping around and not trusting anybody, and she's really boring. In the first one, she was this innocent, sweet kid who's caught in this terrible world, and it was Lee protecting her and their relationship that drove the game. It's a similar thing with Last of Us, except Ellie's not nearly as innocent. You remember that moment in the first one where she's like trying to whistle and Joel's like, "Girl, what are you doing?" And she's like, "I'm trying to whistle." I mean, she was a kid and she's not a kid anymore, but have some more of that charm. Have the two of them laugh together. Have the two of them like show like, "Hey, we got something good here. We're not just all depressed and mopey and dark and looking down." All right, and this is the most important thing. This is the most essential thing. This will make or break the game. And if you guys mess this up, I'm gonna be like, how did you not see that? Like, wow. Is that Joel's beard better be much longer and much grayer and it's gonna look awesome? Don't get me wrong, I'm excited as all hell for a sequel to one of the best games ever made. I'm worried we're gonna fall into this 2016 gaming trend of, I'm worried that they might get overconfident or that they might get a little pretentious, but they said the game's a long ways out. They didn't even have a year. Did it say 2017? I don't even think it said 2017. Take your damn time. Don't rush it out. I mean, don't sit on it and do nothing with it and be like, why have we not have a game for a whole generation? But, don't rush it. There are opposite extremes that we can avoid. Just the idea of going back into this world, going back with these characters, kind of like Hobbit after Lord of the Rings, except not as big a deal and it hasn't been quite as long a time. But if they're going to do a part 2 and it's going to be as successful, which it will be, it's going to be wildly successful, I guarantee it, then that means eventually we're going to get a part 3. Can you imagine in 10 years, like, referring to this as the Last of Us trilogy? Doesn't that seem weird? I just think it's cool. Give sequels to games that deserve sequels, alright? Alright, I don't want to be that guy, but upcoming PlayStation exclusives that look cool. Upcoming Xbox exclusives that look cool.